scripture reading this morning is taken from the book of Ruth, chapter 3, verses 7 through 13. Ruth 3, 7 through 13. And read thus. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the green pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant, Ruth," she said. "Spread a corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good. Let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here till morning." The words of the Lord. Amen.
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
And to those joining us online, good morning to you as well as those that will watch this later. We want to welcome you to our service here today as we enter into the sermon time as we worship. We want to pray here today. As many of you know, we've prayed many times and we continue to pray. We wanted to give you just a quick update. As you know, this is the weekend of the United Methodist Get Together in St. Louis. It started yesterday. I just want to give you a quick report of what's happened so far. And what has happened so far, I'm proud to actually tell you, is we prayed. We actually spent really the whole day in prayer. We got online yesterday. They prayed, and they prayed, and they prayed. We prayed for everybody and their uncle and their sister and their daughter and anyway. We prayed for everybody, right? And we had a day of prayer, and it was really, really great in so many ways to see the church do that. The one thing maybe that did come out of it is they had some orientation about the delegates about here's how the process works and here's how to make a movement and all those type of things. The one thing that they did come out of it, the parliamentarian that they hired to come in and make sure it's all done above board, pretty much told us, he said, "I read your transcripts. You guys don't know how to table something." So that was pretty much the big takeaway from yesterday was everybody outside the Methodist Church came to us and said, yeah, you need to learn how to actually table stuff. So that was the big takeaway yesterday. Today they actually will meet and start actually doing more plenary sessions. So there'll be much more to tell you about as time goes on. We are planning on next Sunday afternoon at 3:30, just here in the church. Come on out for that if you want. Just be a quick denominational update, and I say quick because all it is just going to be informative of, hey, here's what did or did not pass, and here are how the group's responding to it so far. And that's all it's going to be. But if you're interested in that, please come out again next Sunday afternoon at 3:30. For those that there's Chris Cake's cleanup still going on. Just take a break, come on out for a couple minutes, and then head on back, and we'll clean up together. For those that are joining with us again online, we want to welcome you. For those that are here visiting with us, we have we were in the middle of a sermon series, that is to say, and the sermon series is entitled Wuv Twoo Wuv. Now, if you don't know where that comes from, it comes from the greatest romance movie of all time. The movie that taught me everything I needed to know about life. It was called The Princess Bride, right? And there's a scene in there, I won't go rehearse it again, but there's a sign that there's a Wuv Twoo Wuv part in that movie. And we've been taking this season to just look at the different love stories of the Bible. And so we're on love story number 3 here today. And it's a story about Ruth and Boaz. Now, before we get there, I wanted to just kind of remind you of the greatness of the movie, The Princess Bride. You see, it starts off with a farm, and a farm girl, if you will, and a farm boy, right? And the farm girl is, rides her horse and comes in and says, "Hey, farm boy, shine my saddle. I want to see my face in it by morning." And the farm boy goes, "As you wish." Right? "Farm boy, fill these with water." "As you wish." And then one day it came where she realized that every time he said "as you wish," what he was really saying was, "I love you." And so one day she's making the bread and she says, "Farm boy," looks around, tries to find something, "Fetch me that pitcher." And he comes up and grabs it, looks in the eyes, "As you wish." Right? And this story of love takes place. This is how the story really kind of starts. And it goes on, and he gets captured and is supposedly killed by the dread pirate Roberts. And later on in the movie, as I told you last time, she gets kidnapped, and she's about to be married to this prince and all this stuff. She gets kidnapped. A whole bunch of stuff happens, but a man in black has been chasing her. A man in black finally has captured, fended off all the different kidnappers, has captured her, and they're running for their, he's taking her, running for their lives, if you will, on the chase of the prince and his gallant steeds, and they're coming after them and chasing them down. And all of a sudden, they're running, and they have to stop to catch their breath, and he throws her to a rock kind of thing, she's sitting there, and she says these words, "I know who you are. Your cruelty reveals everything. You're the dread pirate Roberts, admit it. With pride. What can I do for you? You can die slowly, cut into 1,000 pieces." Hardly complimentary, Your Highness. "Why so venomous upon me?" "You killed my love." "It's possible. I kill a lot of people." "Who was this love of yours? Another prince like this one? Ugly, rich, scabby?" "No, a farm boy. Poor, imperfect, with eyes like the sea before a storm." And it pans to his face, and you notice behind the mask he has blood. Could it be? "On the high seas your ship attacked, and the dread pirate Roberts never takes prisoners. Can't afford to make exceptions. Once word gets out, pirates gone soft. It's nothing but work. Right? You mock my pain. Life is pain, Your Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something. I remember this farm boy of yours. I think it was 5 years ago. Does it pain you to hear it? Nothing you can say can upset me. He died well. That should please you. No bribe attempts or blubbering. He simply said, please, I need to live. It was the please that caught my memory. I asked him, what was so important? True love, he replied. Then he spoke of a girl surpassing beauty and faithfulness. I can only assume he meant you. You should bless me for destroying him before you find out what you truly were. And what am I? Faithfulness, madam. You were enduring faithfulness. No, now tell me, truly, when you found out he was gone, did you engage to your prince that same hour, or did you wait a whole week in respect for the dead? You mocked me once, never do it again. And then all of a sudden the horses ride up in the background, the man in black turns, and she says, I died that day, and you can die too for all I care. And then one of the best parts of the whole movie, she shoves him, and he goes rolling down this huge hill, like really super steep, like rolling. And at first he goes, oh, on the first bounce, and the second bounce he goes, and so you can say it with me if you've seen the movie, as you wish. In which case she goes, oh, my Wesley, my sweet Wesley, what have I done? And then she throws herself down the hill, and then they roll down the hill together. But there's that moment in the moment of the story, right, where all of a sudden it became clear, like it also became crystal clear, like, oh my gosh, I understand. This Dread Pirate Roberts guy is actually my sweet Wesley, and we're really supposed to be together. This is my love chasing after me and redeeming me. If you haven't ever seen the movie, I just read some of it for you. I'm sorry, but it was so good. And it has been like, what, 30-something years, 40-something years since it came out or whatever, so you've had your time, so you should have watched it by now, but if you haven't, sorry. But this story, right, it has this moment where it becomes all of a sudden crystal clear, and the whole storyline pivots, and all of a sudden it's a story about these two lovers trying to stay together in the midst of this prince chasing them, and all this type of stuff that happens. Well, our story today, our love story, has one of these moments that we just read. It's a story of Ruth and Boaz, but it's also a story of Naomi. And it's a story, just to give you a little bit of the background, this is the time of Judges. And if you ever go back and read the book of Judges, there's better times to live in history than the book of Judges, just so you know. It's kind of a crazy time, things are going on, all sorts of bad stuff. But there's a famine in the land. And this story really comes from the chapters of Ruth. It's only 4 chapters long, so if you want to read a book of the Bible tonight, go home and read 4 chapters, you've read a whole book. And it's such a good one. But the story of Ruth takes place, and there's this man named Elimelech married to Naomi, and he has 2 sons, and there's a famine in the land, so they move, and they leave. They have to leave the Bethlehem area. They go all the way to Moab. And in Moab, the sons get married to some Moabite women. And they stay there for 10 years. Well, Elimelech dies, The 2 sons died, so it's Naomi and the 2 daughters. And so, and the way this works is they're in a foreign land. The daughters have sort of, gone into their family and left their family, so they don't actually have all sorts of stuff going on. So now they're pretty much destitute, so they said, hey, we've heard the famine's ended in Bethlehem, so Naomi says, I'm going to go back to my people. And the daughters at first come with her, and then eventually she stops. She says, lady, look, my daughters, you've been faithful. You've done your due diligence. Go home. There's nothing for you where I'm going. Even if I was to get married, if I had a kid tonight, what are you going to wait till he grows up and then take care of you? I don't think so. So she tries to send them away, and one of them goes away. Her name's Orpah, and the second one is Ruth. And she clings to Naomi and basically begs her and says, no. Where you go, I'll go. Your gods will be my gods. Your people will be my people. And clings to her for her love for Naomi. And so fast forward the story, they come back to Bethlehem area. And luckily for them, it's the time of the gleaning of the fields. And so it's the time where they're going out and they're threshing barley. And it's not quite wheat yet, but they're doing the barley. And so there was Old Testament law that said when you go out in your fields and you gather, what they do is they chop it down, and then someone come behind and bundle the sheaves, and they take those sheaves to a mill and they grind it. Well, there was a law to protect poor people and the foreigners. And it was, while you're bundling, if stuff falls out, or as you're chopping, things don't fall right or get left behind, you don't go back a second time. You leave it. And you leave it purposely for the poor people of the area, or the refugee people, or the people that are sojourners, or the people that are just destitute, to be able to come forward, to have something to eat, to gather it up themselves, to be able to take it freely, and to actually work for their food. And so Naomi and Ruth have been marginalized to this point where they used to be, they owned the land back in the day, right? They had their own farms and stuff. And now they're at the point where they have to go gleaning. And Naomi's too old, so Ruth goes out and says she goes out and finds a field, and she starts gleaning. She gleans from the morning until about the afternoon time, and all of a sudden the master of the land shows up, and his name is Boaz. Ladies, yeah. Boaz. I always thought, we need to take this name back. It needs to be a cool name. We need cool Boaz people, you know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna have a kid anytime soon, name it Boaz for me, just so that we can bring it back and it can be cool again. But anyways, Boaz is one of the coolest people in the Bible, actually. I really love him. And he comes up and he comes to see his people, check on them, how's it going? He's talking to his workers. He's like, who's that woman over there? And they go, oh, that's Ruth, the Moabitess, Naomi's daughter-in-law. And they tell her, and they say, hey, she's been working really hard all morning long. She had one quick short break. She's working. And he tells those workers, he says, all right, don't harm her. Let her pick from the gleanings. And in fact, don't just let her pick from it. Even if she comes up to the parts that are bundled and she pulls a little bit out and they need a little more, don't even mock her for that. And then he goes on, he says, actually, you know what? Even beyond that, pull some of the sheaves out and leave it for her, right? And take care of her, because he knew Naomi and he wanted to take care of them in the best way that he knew how. And so to do his part, and he saw people in need, and so he himself took upon it to say, hey, I'm going to take someone out of here. I'm going to make sure my people take care of Ruth and Naomi. And so at lunchtime, he invites her over. He gives her a full, as much as she can eat, and even gives her more to take home to Naomi. And when the day is done, he actually gives her even a little bit more to take home to bring back to Naomi. Naomi comes, or Ruth, that is, comes back to Naomi, and Naomi asks her, whose field did you go to? You got all this good stuff and good food. And Ruth tells her, hey, it's Boaz's. And Ruth goes, praise the Lord. And she did a little Brian little dance, right? Maybe it was a tap dance, I don't know. And she does a little dance, and she starts praising the Lord. She says, Boaz is one of our close relatives. He's one of our kinsmen redeemers. Now, we don't have time to go into that term, but it is a huge, awesome term in the Old Testament. And it basically means a couple different things, but basically means there was someone designated in your family that if stuff went wrong for you, their job was to redeem you back. So if you got sold into slavery, guess whose job it was? So there was someone designated to make sure those type of things didn't happen to you, and to go free you if you ever got captured, and to redeem you if you ever were found destitute, and to buy back your land if you were ever in trouble. All these type of things. Anyways, this kinsman would be a huge idea. I can't really explain it all in one deal, but he is a kinsman redeemer. And so she says to Ruth, keep gleaning in his field. And so she keeps going back, and it seems like time goes on because it talks about the barley harvest, and actually the wheat harvest after that. It says that it goes through there. And then all of a sudden, one day, Naomi says to Ruth, hey, here's what I want you to do. So the story gets hatched right here, where there is the party going on after the grain. It was a big celebration when you have the wheat festivals and things like that, the barley harvest. So they're harvesting it all, and they bring it into the grinding mill, if you will, and they would have these sleds with oxen and stuff, and they would chop up all the different sheaves and everything and separate it, then they would sift it, and they would make all the grain and all that stuff that they would keep. Except, you don't want to do all that hard work and have someone steal it, so what would happen was you'd have the party, but then, if you were the owners and stuff and all your men, you would go to sleep next to all the stuff that you just had, right? You don't want people running off with it, you don't know the hard work to get it. So, he's sleeping there, and she, Ruth that is, comes in, sneaks in, where she's not supposed to be, going to the boys' bathroom, right? And she sneaks in and covers his feet, which is kind of weird to us, but okay. Anyways, covers his feet and lays down. Like my dog does that, like, sleeps at his feet. But she lays down at his feet, and what's the deal? In the middle of the night, his feet are very cold. If something's going to wake him up, he's going to want to cover up, and as he covers up, he's going to notice her. Except, it's kind of a jerk thing to cover yourself up, but not the lady sitting at your feet, right? So, there's kind of this big test, if you will, of Boaz that Ruth sets out. And Boaz, of course, asks, who are you in the dark and all that stuff? And Ruth says, I'm Ruth, And he goes, and she says, spread your garment over me, which in those days, spreading your garment was the act of being married. And so, we had a proposal last night. Yeah. This was a proposal, right, on the threshing floor, if you will. And so, Boaz, instead of saying, you know what, you're a foreigner, you. Or instead of saying, I don't really want to do that. Or instead of saying all these different things that he could have, or embarrassed her in front of everybody, or done these different things, instead says, you faithful woman, you be blessed. This is a kindness. And he extends the cloak over her and he says, there's actually someone that is greater or closer to I that has the kinsman right redeemer over you. So I have to go up and get his permission first, but if he won't redeem you, I will make sure it happens. And so Ruth goes back, tells Naomi all that's happened, and Naomi's so excited. She says, don't worry, he's going to take care of this today. And sure enough, he brings the elders together. And he asks them, he says, hey, there's this field. And this is another Old Testament law, that every 7 years, if you had sold a field, it came back to you and your family. If you ever sold yourself as a slave, you were set free. It was a year of Jubilee. And so there was this idea that the land always stays with the descendants of Israel. And so there's this kind of thing that happens right here where the land is up for sale. And so the person, one of the kinsman redeemers says, yeah, I'll buy it. Yeah, that sounds great. I'll buy the land of Naomi and Elimelech. And then Boaz says, but there's one catch. You actually have to keep it in their lineage because they're still named Ruth for Naomi. And she's still a childbearing age, so you can still actually do your due diligence, if you will, help them bear a child, and it actually stays with their son and family. And then this kind of, whenever you get kind of these land kind of activism type things can get really weird. So this is not a slight to the person. So he says, I can't do that because it might jeopardize the rest of my inheritance and my stuff. And there's kind of these weird rules and all that stuff. And it could happen like that, where like he could legitimately, by trying to do the right thing, actually cheat his other children out of their inheritance, if you will. And so it kind of gets this weird type of thing. But basically, what ends up Boaz, he says, you know what, Boaz, you do it. And so Boaz gets the sandal, takes it off, right, and gives it as a testimony that he has bought the land. All the elders go, yes, we agree. And then they start blessing him. I want to just read you the blessing real quick, because it's really neat. It's kind of this fun little thing that happens at the end here. So the elders come, and they bless Boaz, and they say these words. They say, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah. Now, we talked about them last week. Lots of kids, lots of people, lots of descendants. Like the whole house of Israel that's been built up. May you have a standing in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. Someone from Bethlehem becomes famous later. Through their offspring, the Lord gives you by this woman. May your family be like Perez and Tamar of Judah. And so they bless Boaz and Ruth and Naomi in this. And then kind of story ends right there. But then it doesn't, because it gives a little epilogue. The epilogue is one of these things that you go, oh, that's kind of cool. And the epilogue goes like this. There's a genealogy of Naomi through Ruth and Boaz. And it goes like this. It goes a little bit further back, actually. It says, This is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram was the father of Amminadab. Amminadab was the father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz, the father of Obed, the father of Jesse, the father of David.
Amen.
And what's so cool about this story is, first of all, I love a story that doesn't have bad guys, and the story has no bad guys in it whatsoever. In fact, everybody in it does the best thing they can the whole entire time. And they're all little tiny things. And to think about the book of Judges when God's dealing with wars and people going on and he's trying to get the Israelites to do the right thing and all these type of things, there's this little story of people doing small things, but trying to do the right things for other people. And it's through all those little tiny small things, doing it right for other people, that God brings in the lineage of David, and thus the lineage of Jesus Christ. And he does it through a Moabite woman, not an Israelite. And he does it through a woman who loves her mother so much, she won't let her be destitute. He does it through a man that is so kind that he won't let a foreign woman of noble character go to waste. Instead, he redeems them and brings them to this great story. Now, as you're here today, you may sit there and you may say, you know, when you think about how the world changes, when you think about how things happen in this world, you always think of the big names, don't you, right? People that win the Nobel Peace Prizes, right? People that do amazing, big, huge stuff. But I think one of the catches of this story, one of the things it reminds us, is it's not always the case that's the way God works. Sometimes God does do the feeding of the 5,000. Sometimes God does raise people from the dead, right? Does all these amazing things, but sometimes God uses you and me in the simplest little things that we do to bless other people with the ordinary needs that we have. And he takes those kind, compassionate hearts and he uses them to bring about David's and eventually Jesus Christ. So as you're here today, never say to yourself, it's too small, this kind deed that I'm doing. Never say to yourself, this little small thing that I'm doing to change the world just is insignificant. And never say to yourself, this one little act of kindness means nothing in the grand scheme. Because God has a way of weaving all these things together and making something beautiful. Let us pray. Lord, as we're here today, we thank you so much for your story, of this great story of Ruth and of Boaz, of Naomi, and these great people, Lord, that want to do everything in their power right, that worked hard when they needed to, that loved people when they needed to, that reached down and saw people in need and wanted to help them. And God, even though they weren't blessed with phenomenal cosmic powers, they were blessed with what they had. And what they used what they had, what that is to say. Even the small things that you brought about, ultimately Jesus Christ, through their lineage. So Lord, as we're here today, we give you thanks and honor once again, because so many times we're told the lie that what we do doesn't matter, and that what we do, even on the small things, and the acts of kindness, and reaching out to those that are hurting, and reaching out to those that are poor, that Lord, it does nothing. It doesn't fix the problem. But God, we know a bigger truth, that you weave your work in your kingdom through these small acts. So Lord, help us to always see the bigger picture. And help us to see the tapestry you weave when all your people come. And the story has no bad guys, but you bring about your great work. We pray all this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.